Today, I'm going to have a look at every single auction tank that is upcoming in the massive auction until the 16th of April. Right here, there's 4 tanks per day. Let's see if there are any good ones. And now, the prices are not known yet, but please refer to my sort of pricing guidelines of what I think a vehicle of what tier is going to be worth. If you overpay for that because you really want a vehicle, that I don't care. However, if a vehicle costs more than that, it is less likely to be worth it. So let's have a look at this absolutely massive auction. There's going to be 4 vehicles every single day, because presumably Wargaming just needs a lot of money right now before they drive the game into the ground with the Reforged update.
More involved?
Obviously, the current ones, when the video will come out, will be the Badger, the FCM, the Object 2FTU, and the SU-130PM. The SU-130PM is probably worth it, and the Badger is as well if they are at decent prices. Again, refer to the pricing. If, for example, the Badger starts at 25,000 or something like that, don't ever do that. So, Badger and the SU-130PM are worth it. The FCM and the Object 2FTU are not, unless the Object 2FTU is about 5,000 gold. 121B, Action X, CDC, and Pharaoh are not worth it, and I wouldn't recommend them. And I'm talking here about the general Blitz player. I'm not talking about tank collectors here. If you want as much tanks as possible, ignore any of this, just buy all of them. But I want to make this video to provide as much value, as much performance to you with these vehicles as possible. Because obviously, none of you are going to buy all of them, so I would like to highlight the vehicles that are the best, that are most worth it, to obviously give you the best chance of getting good vehicles, rather than being stuck with the CDC, for example. The 114, the IS-2 Defender of Progetto, and the Super Pershing, that is a not so great day. The Progetto is going to be worth it if it is a very cheap price and you are a good player. The other vehicles are not good and are only collector value. I actually got the IS-2 Defender for free back in 2015, 16, I think. So it's a very old vehicle and I wouldn't recommend purchasing it now. Now, the next day, the 20th of March, T95 E6, Chrysler K, Panzer 58, and Annihilator. Obviously, the Annihilator is going to be really expensive. So if you want it, then I can't stop you. But obviously, the Annihilator is worth having if it is in the game. But it is probably, by knowing Wargaming, going to be very expensive and not really worth it for that price. The Panzer 58 is an absolute miserable joke of a vehicle. Chrysler K is not really worth it, given what other Tier 8 heavy tanks you can get. And in the T95 E6, I mean, if it's cheap and you're a good player, then it is sort of maybe worth it, but not really still. The K91, definitely a good vehicle, can be worth picking up, just like the Borask as well. As Borask, obviously, if you're a really good player, it makes a lot more sense to get it, but the Borask is one of the best medium tanks to get in the game. So is the KB5. If it's cheap, then the KB5 can be worth picking up as well, but the LT432 is not worth getting. VK90 can be worth it if it's a good price, 15,000 or below for an auction like that. That is very nice. M6 and Elephant, don't buy that. Defender Mark 1 can be worth it if you're a medium tank fan and you want a auto-loading 190 alpha damage medium, so that can be worth it. KBZ-70, if it's cheap, sure. The WZ-120 1GFT is a must-have in terms of tank destroyers, so I would definitely recommend picking up that one, unless it's too expensive, which I assume it will be, because Wargaming very rarely sells this vehicle, and I don't know why, but it is an excellent tank destroyer, and I can highly recommend picking it up. Panther 2 Titan H, don't buy that, that's crap. Super Conqueror, if it's at a good price at tier 10, is also going to be worth it. The Yo Titan Strife and T95 E2 are not worth it. 752 is good if you can get it. Again, pricing is going to matter, but it is a very amazing vehicle that I definitely highly recommend picking up. The Glacial, the Canoniac, Panzer, and the Skoda T45 are not worth it. The MX-30 can be worth it if you want a tier 9, but generally not really. Neither the Turtle, the Samoa SM, or the CS52 are worth it. TL7 is still a waste of space. The Soul Eater is a joke. It's a meme tank, but if you want the aesthetics, then sure, go get it. AP MX-30 and M41D are not worth it. However, if the M41D is very cheap, let's say 3,000, then it can be worth picking up because it's very fun. The MX-M4 MLE54 is not worth it, given the Super Conquerors in the auction previously, so if you get the Super Conqueror, then the AMX is not worth it. There's no point in getting this vehicle. Skoda T27, sort of, if you get the Progetto up here, there's no point in getting the Skoda T27. However, it is still a relatively decent vehicle that can perform very well, especially in the hands of a good player. So if you want it, pick it up then. Skoda T56 is pretty good and is a better pickup than the Object 2FTU. So wait for that to get that one. TSL7, nope. The Cobra is a meme tank. If you want the meme, get it, but I don't recommend that personally ever. Lance and Sea can be a good vehicle in a good player's hands, but nothing for the general audience. The ML951 is solid, and you can sort of recommend it, but again, it is an autoloader. It doesn't have as much turret armor as the ML1, so you have to be careful there, but it can somewhat be worth it. Starter WT is not worth it. T22 medium. Here's the thing. T22 medium, if there is a KPZ50T somewhere in here, which there probably is, there it is. There's the KPZ50T. Just wait for the KPZ50T. The T22 medium is not worth it. The T77 is worth it at a good price, and the Kunze-Panzer is not. The Object 2 version 4 doesn't make any sense if you have the Badger up here. If you want a tank destroyer, get the Badger, and not the 2 version 4, because I would say that the Badger is a better vehicle than 2 version 4. Ram Panzer is not worth it. T34 is also not worth it, unless it's very cheap. And the Tornwagen, it is good. It might even be slightly better than the Skoda T56. So if you don't get the Skoda, you can get the Tornwagen, but those are very much on the same level. And I can recommend one of these two, basically, that you pick up. One of those. 5A, Vickers MBT, MX City, and Sphere are not worth it. Object 4, 2K, Aston Rex, ISU 130, and Type 5 Kari are also not worth it. Object 907 is also not worth it. Bizonte C45 is good enough, but definitely not a top level premium, especially at tier 8, like a T77 or a Tornwagen or a Skoda. It's also not as good as, for example, a Defender Mark 1. Wouldn't recommend it either, but if you're a collector, then sure, the 122 TM, I would get the Chimera instead of the 122 TM, but it's probably down there somewhere. If it's not, then get the 122 TM. Super Hellcat's not worth it. Eric Concept's not worth it. Yak Tig is not worth it. KPZ's not worth it. And T4A2 is currently in an event as well. So if you can get it in the event, you don't need to get it here, but the T4A2 is a must-have vehicle. Just like the Concept 1B, which is definitely recommended from my side right here. It's a great vehicle, and I can absolutely recommend getting the Concept 1B, especially if you already played something like a T125 and you want a heavy tank version of this. This thing also makes crits, which is very lovely. TS5 is not worth it. Again, we have the 121 GFT up here. Here's the thing. You don't need duplicates of worse vehicles. If you have the best tank of a certain type, you don't need the tanks below that because you're just downgrading, right? So if you have the best tank of its type, there is no point filling up under it. You're better off buying the best tank of multiple types and then getting used to that, basically, unless you really love one certain playstyle, like you love that slow, boring tank destroyer playstyle, then a TS5 could be something you can get. But ideally, you want to stick to the absolute best performing vehicles, because why would you spend money on a mid tank? Type 29, not worth it, it's trash. And the Smasher, obviously, is going to be extremely overpriced. So yeah, just you will have to know yourself whether it's worth it to you, because we all know what the Smasher is at this point, right? T5A, not worth it. STV81 was given away for free last year. You'd be stupid to buy it now. Kyler is pretty solid, and the Type 57. Again, Type 57, Tornwagen, Skoda, they're very similar in terms of what they're able to do, so I would only pick up one of them. Unless you really love that playstyle, then get all three of them. But that is one of the vehicles I also recommend as well. And you only need one of them, really, but if you really love the playstyle, get all three of them. Then we have the STVK, which is sort of like the middle piece between the T95 E6 and the Concept 1B. So if you love either of those two, if you have either of those two and you really like the way they play, then the STVK can be worth picking up as well. That one's not worth it. The Chem PZ68. The Löwe, it makes a lot of credits, so if the Löwe is really cheap, it can be good picking it up. Let's say like it's cost 5,000 gold, the Löwe can be worth picking up at that point. The SDG is not worth it, the Object 260 is not worth it, the HWK30 is not worth it, the MXM49 is a second-rate turret heavy tank. It's okay. If it's very cheap, it can be okay to sort of, again, fill up the bottom below a Skoda T56, a ML951, a T77, a T54A2, a Type 57. It's sort of like a second-rate turret heavy where you can fill up the bottom like that. The Helsing, it's a special camouflage, but it's not a special tank, so you don't need it. The Range 50T, not worth it. Probably going to be very expensive because it's sort of new-ish still. I don't ascribe any value to novelty, so, and you shouldn't either, so it's probably not going to be worth it, but it's also not a vehicle that you need in the first place. It's like the MX M4 MLA54, where it's a big baby that drives around the battlefield, and it's just not really that great. So MX Defender, it's okay for a light tank, but not great overall, to be honest. Centurion Mark 5-1 is a good vehicle. I can recommend picking it up if it is a good price right there. Titan Charioteer, well, it really depends. Do you like paper tank destroyers? Then perhaps. Otherwise, no. Then the Object 777. There's very easily one question that needs to be asked. Do you like the 113? Yes? Then get the 777. Do you like the 113? No. Or do you not have the 113? Then don't get the 777. Very simple, like that. S&V Vipera is sort of like a heavy tank cosplayer as a tank destroyer right there, and it can sort of be the opposite of the WZ-121 GFT right here. So if you want a sort of heavy tank destroyer, then the SU-25 Vipera is probably the best choice in the game right here. The K2 again was given away for free last year, so why would you buy it now? I didn't even get it for free, but I'm not going to buy it either because, again, the K2 is sort of on the level of a Type 57, a Tourenwagen, a Skoda 56, that kind of thing. So I wouldn't buy that if you already have the other offers ahead. IST Shielded, nope, don't do that. BZ58, nope, nope. The TS60 is a joke, don't buy that. Carnarvon Defender is also not worth it. The Object 590, it's in the, while it was in the shop, I made a video about it. Check out that video. I've made an in-depth review of the Object 590, and if it's cheap, it is going to be worth it because it's probably the best of the Soviet medium tanks at tier 8. None of them are really any good, but it is sort of the best one. KBS-53, like I already mentioned with the T22 medium up here, it is an amazing vehicle, and I definitely recommend picking it up. The VK168 is a gravity battle meme, which, if you love battles in gravity, then pick it up. Otherwise, if you don't play gravity, if you don't care about gravity, don't buy that damn tank because it's only good for gravity. The 112-2 is sort of, again, like the MX M449, a second-rate, tier-rate heavy, where if you want to fill up your bottom, sure, but otherwise it's not worth it. Dracula, probably going to be expensive. It's not going to be worth it. It is a lot of fun, but it is going to be like the Smasher, like the... I mean, probably the Helsing's not going to be too expensive, but the Dracula is probably going to be really expensive, and I don't recommend that at all. And then we have the Shaffichu, the 75TS, the T26, and the Lightbringer. I mean, Shaffichu, if you're a really good player, sure, but otherwise, nope. T2065 is the same as the MX. It's a second-rate tier 8 that if you want it, get it, otherwise it's not worth it. 114 SP, T2020, T343, and Shipity are not worth it. Caro is also not worth it because it's a worse Progetto pretty much. Obviously, there are people that adore this vehicle, really love it. I don't get it. It's not that good. So get the KPC-50 if you want a tier 10 medium tank that is good. Charlemagne, that has Hesh, so if you want the Hesh novelty, go for that. But otherwise, not worth it. The Object 274A, the 590 is up here, so there's no point getting the 274A, just like the ST62 is inferior to the Object 590, so both of these are not worth it. The Forest Witch is a meme tank, so don't get that. And then we have the XM6F and the Chieftain, the tier 8 Chieftain, which is not worth it because the good Chieftain was already here. So, but by the way, you didn't miss anything. Neither of these tanks in the first, like, none of these are worth it. So you're not missing anything. So XM6F, it's probably going to be expensive, but it's also not worth it. So I definitely don't recommend that. So that is the auction overview. And again, thanks to Little Dino for formatting this thing so beautifully. And I'm also going to put this thing down in the description as well. So that's the old auction tanks. And what do you think of it?